Welcome to the Spectator's Creepy Tales. So sit back, relax, and let the silence fill your abode. Now open your eyes.
Mommy.
I was hired to work as a 5th grade history teacher at Wellington Academy. It was a school for gifted children. It was in an old hospital that was renovated into a school and a home for the children. I was excited because the pay was above what I expected. When I first arrived and the students entered the classroom, I noticed that they were dressed alike, which was all black attire, same style hair, but their eyes were absence of a white scara. They were not white or black as far as race was concerned. Their complexion was a strange white that no Caucasian could match. They were whiter than powder, and their hair, eyebrows and eyes were black. "Oh my," came silently from my lips as I watched each student take a seat. I was dumbfounded and could barely remember my lesson plan. Then I looked down at the student roll book. I commenced to calling the roll, and each student will remark present. If someone was absent, one of the students would say away. These students watched me the entire time. They didn't blink or move. I think that somehow the children knew that I was afraid. However, I had to get through the day. After completing the roll call, I looked over my lesson plan. I decided that we will study the Constitution. I read the Constitution to the students. Then I asked them if they could give their interpretation of what the Constitution means. I was amazed at the remarkable responses. These children were on the level of college students. Things were becoming interesting. I just knew that these children were going to be well-mannered and intellectually gifted students. Yet I could not get past those black eyes. I had made up my mind what I was going to do. I had enough money in my savings, and I could get by until I gained other employment. I didn't sign up for this. I made up my mind that I would not return to the school because the children frightened me. When the class ended, the students gathered their books so that they may leave to go to their next class. Yet I noticed one student remained behind. He got up from his desk and slowly walked towards me. He stopped in front of my desk and looked me in the eyes. Then he said something that even now makes me shiver.
"You are coming back tomorrow, right? If you don't, that will be terribly sad for us. No outsider wants to teach us your ways. They always leave, but you will be returning, right, Miss Turner? If you don't come back, it will be bad for you. Just think about it, because we are children willing to learn, and upon you abruptly quitting, it will rob us of being educated. Then the reaping will begin."
The reaping? What is the reaping? Are you threatening me?
"Just don't quit on us, Miss Turner."
Then he walked away and whistled a strange tune. I was in awe at this kid's boldness to warn me not to leave the school. I must admit that they were a good class of students, but they were different. That difference was what was compelling me to quit. I gathered my things, and as I walked down the hall, my legs were wobbling. I was scared. The students were in the hallway. They didn't say a word, but they watched me until I entered the employees' lounge. I thought to myself, what have I gotten myself into? I sat at the table and tried to eat my lunch, but I was distracted by students who were passing the window. I couldn't wait until it was time to go home. When classes ended for the day, the students went to their dorm rooms to study. I quickly gathered my things and left the class immediately. I couldn't wait to get away from that place. Students in my other classes seemed as if they were told something about me. They were extremely knowledgeable youth academically, but aside from that, they were spooky too. I taught the classes the best way that I could, but the students knew every answer, and they knew a lot concerning my lesson plans. They were ahead of the average students, and the worst thing is, they were capable of reading minds. I was wondering, did they really need a teacher? Well, when I arrived home, I typed my letter of resignation. I know that the strange kid basically threatened me, but this was a choice that I had to make. Plus, he was just a kid, and he was just trying to intimidate me, right? I placed my letter in an envelope and sat it on the table. Then I prepared for bed. I went to shower, and I was washing my hair when I heard a loud noise. I didn't have any pets, and I lived alone. So, what could it be? I looked and saw that my computer was on and one of my pens was on the floor. Someone typed on my computer.
We are here, and we are here to stay. We are here, and we are here to stay. We are here, and we are here to stay.
With pen in hand, I used my other hand and deleted the strange message. Then I turned my computer off. Next, I heard a noise in my backyard. I went to the door and noticed that it was foggy outside. I thought to myself, maybe it's an animal. I turned on my outside light and screamed when I saw who was in my backyard. From the fog emerged a person. It was the kid that previously warned me not to quit the school. He was accompanied by some other students, and they were all dressed in black. Some concealed their eyes while others looked intently at me. Then he spoke.
Hello, Miss Turner. We can't let you leave. We need you to be our mother. Will you be our mother?
I screamed and closed the door. I called the police, and by the time they came, the children were gone. 3 officers arrived. 2 looked around the premises and then they entered my home. Another officer remained outside to talk to me. Then they came out and said that there was no one in the house or hiding on my property. However, they did see footprints in the form of hooves on the ground. Hooves? I thought to myself. Now this was becoming scary. The officers concluded that approximately 10 people or perhaps animals were in my backyard. They told me that they took foot impressions and checked for fingerprints. They collected everything and each man returned to his cars. One officer remained with me to gather information regarding the incident with the students. I explained everything and he told me that he was going to the school to talk to the principal. Although the location of the school was not on the map, I was able to give them the exact directions to the campus. The next day, I received a call from the school, but I dared not answer. An hour later, the officer that I had spoken to the night before came to my home. He wanted to talk to me. He informed me that he went to the school, and it looked abandoned like no one had ever been there. I perceived that this officer thought that I was lying. Perhaps he thought that I had been drinking or indulging in some kind of narcotic. So I responded to him. Officer, I can assure you that I was teaching students at that school.
Well, if that's the case, why do it look abandoned now, Miss Turner?
Now Officer Groover was becoming rude. I don't know, officer. Wait. I have proof.
Oh? You have proof?
Yes, I do, sir. I received a letter from the principal after I was hired.
Okay. Can I see it, please?
Of course you can. I'm not a straitjacket, Officer Groover. This actually occurred.
Okay, the burden of proof is in your hands, ma'am.
Now he was annoying me. This is insane. Why is he treating me like I'm the town idiot? I'm an educated woman and I am of sound mind. He's a backwoods, hell's reject that wants to exert his authority. Yet I had to prove myself to him. It was vital to me that I prove to him that this abandoned school was thriving and filled with strange kids with unusual gifts and black eyes. I went to get my assignment book to show the officer my lesson plan and the letter in which the principal welcomed me to the school, but they were all gone. I kept the letter inside my top drawer, and I always keep that drawer locked. So, how is it that the letter is missing? Someone had to have been in my house and that someone has taken the letter. I was aghast and this situation was becoming quite troubling. Officer Groover, I can't find my proof. The burden of proof was in my possession, but it's missing. It's like someone came into my home and had taken it. This is bizarre. I could feel the tears stream down my face. I could not fathom why I was experiencing such a terrible ordeal. It felt like I was in a nightmare. The officer's tone changed. I believe he knew that I was telling the truth.
Okay, Miss Turner. Don't get upset. I'll be canvassing the neighborhood and I'll be watching your house. I don't want you to be in fear, so I'll be around. If you need to call me, here's my card.
He gave me a card with his name and phone number on it. Okay. Thank you, Officer Groover. Before he left, Officer Groover told me the strangest thing.
The elders of this town used to talk about strange kids that went to that school. None of the local children attended that school either. I'm inclined to believe that you're telling the truth, Miss Turner.
Thank you, Officer Groover.
If they've been by your home, seeing the presence of the police, I don't think that the kids will bother you anymore. The last thing that they would want to do is frighten you.
Well, I hope they don't come back. Officer Turner nodded.
Good day, Miss Turner.
Good day, Officer Groover. He smiled. Then he walked away and whistled the same tune as the student that threatened me. He stopped and looked back at me. Then he grinned from ear to ear. His smile was that wide, his eyes were large. Instead of blinking up and down in a vertical motion, he blinked horizontally and a transparent membrane covered his eyes. I was in awe. I couldn't move. I just stood there and watched this officer. He turned away from me and got into his car and drove away. I realized that perhaps I was dealing with a town of strange people. I moved to a new location, putting the entire ordeal behind me. I started teaching second grade students, but at another school. Occasionally, I will encounter late-night calls. There was nothing displayed on my phone to indicate where the call was coming from. The person would be whistling a foreboding melody, pause, and then ask the question,
Will you be my mommy?
I have moved several times and I'm experiencing night terrors. I have changed my home telephone number, cell phone number, social media accounts plus my email and password. I don't know how many times I have done this. The fear that I've acquired caused me to lose approximately 4 jobs. However, the stalking continues. I have come to the realization that the officer was the weird kid that knew how to shape-shift into becoming an adult. How could he whistle the tune that only I heard the kid echo? One thing that kid told me, and I have found it to be true, the reaping has begun. It starts with the taken, aka abductions.
Thanks for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Remember that the Spectator is watching to add a new tale to the collection.
Will you be my mommy?